First turn advantage in wargaming. Let's explore some of the ideas of why you'd want to go first. If you're going first, either based on the mission or you just diced it off and you found out you get to go first. A couple of things to generate momentum. This idea in wargaming, it's broken down by turns. Some games are fixed turns, meaning we're going to play 6 turns. Other games are fixed terms with missions. Once you blow up this building, the game ends. Or they're open. Once you drive your opponent off the table or these parameters happen, the game ends. Each turn, you want to build momentum in terms of dominating position on the table, modified by terrain, trying to get superior terrain, the high ground, bunkers, cover. By doing that, you put yourself tactically in a position that when it comes to the shooting phase, the zap phase, the assault phase, whatever phase it's going to be, where now you're picking up the dice and rolling them to simulate shooting, you get the maximum amount of shots. You get the maximum, most viable targets that you can take. This is important by positioning. And again, it is very much back and forth. This is why terrain is so important. And it's not just window dressing. Terrain for a war game, yes, is window dressing because we're doing the 3D thing and we're pulling in the effects and suspending reality as best we can to step outside of space and time and have fun rolling dice. But it's also tactically about terrain. Some games, we explored this in games that are you go versus I go. So I'm just going to mention it. It's up on my archive in the Wargaming Tactics playlist. First turn advantage in a you go, I go system is important because if I can line my stuff up, right? We start at the game 2,000 battle value each. That's kind of our PowerPoints, right? We build a list, 2,000 battle value. If I can turn one, shoot. So if I get turn one in the Wargaming system is you go, I go, or I go, you go, and I shoot, any damage that I do to you, you haven't even started the game yet. The game hasn't even started, and I've already weakened you, 50, 100, 200 battle value. It's important. That's the alpha strike. That's first turn strike. There are ways to mitigate that. We explored that. So I'm going to push that aside. Certainly that's important for first turn. But generally first turn, if your opponent has a way to defeat your alpha strike or uses strategies to pull that away so it's not as potent, or you're playing with a game system where you move first because you want initiative, then your opponent moves, but shooting happens at the same phase. This is where getting out of your deployment zone, right, where your models start, the big advantage of turn one, the huge advantage of turn one, being aggressive with all of your units to get them into position. Literally to hustle as fast as you can. And the big decision that I can't answer for you, because I'm not right there at the table, although I guess you could zoom me in at some point, but the question to ask on turn one, position domination momentum versus shooting. If you have a unit that you're moving, and you now have a choice, I can move up and be in position to shoot my opponent, or if I can move fully or move flat out or move fast or move super speed or turbo boost, whatever we're going to call it, or move to a position where I won't be able to shoot this turn, but next turn I'll be in a better dominating position. That's what you really have to look at. That first turn and make that decision. Generally in Wargaming 101, you got the shot, you take the shot, because you could get lucky, even if you need really, really hard things to hit. But sometimes you have to look and say, turn one, when most things are far away, really far away, and there's cover, and there's blockage, and I'm going to be really only super, super long-range shots. We're going to take it. But do I take the shot, or if there's the opportunity to not take the shot and put myself in a better position, that is more important, potentially long-term, dominating that position. Because in a war game, for the most part, you're limited to the table that you're playing on, or the mat, or the battlefield, the battle zone, whatever it's going to be. Generally, you can't pop off and pop on, although there are some special rules here and there. Which means if you can dominate the mid-center, the midfield, the left and the right flank, that middle band of the table, that's massive. You're shutting down your opponent's ability to move, especially if you can dominate and block with well-established lanes of fire and some cover and elevation. Massive, massive. And that's the big advantage of turn one. Successfully deploying your units, meaning as you put your toys down and your models down, You're just not like shoveling them onto the table unless you've got a massive army and there's nowhere to go. You're looking at the speed, the firepower, the mission objectives, and you're deploying out. And then from there, turn one, momentum, moving. That's the big turn one advantage, in addition to shooting, in addition to the alpha strike. But like I said, there's ways to counter that, and we explored that up in the archive in terms of first turn advantage shooting and first turn advantage alpha strike.